What up, fam? Just chilling here at the house. It's a hot ass day, 77 in my room, but I use Celsius for all my European friends, Canadian friends. So it's like 26, right? So it's a little hot in my room right now. I don't like it that hot. I usually keep it around 72. But my AC's out, so what do? Call the landlord, come get it fixed, I guess. Anyway, so what I'm doing right now, real quick, I was watching my video from HDZero last night. I was watching my video from last night's Sample Saturday using HDZero, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed with the quality. It came through pretty good. I used my gates. I did pop some 3S bats on there, so they were a little bit brighter than I normally would run, which is 2S batteries, so they didn't blow out my use a Toothless 2 camera on analog, so I don't want to blow them out. So I use them on 2S batteries, and usually it just lights up just fine. But that was a little bit bright, so maybe 2S next time, we'll see. I'm gonna add some more gates to it, but what I'm doing here is the gates, the lighted gates. People have asked me about what I do, how do I make them? Well, this is what I do. I get a roll of PEX. Let me see if I can find them. They're somewhere around here. Some LEDs and some rebar, which I don't have. XT30 connector or XT60, but XT30 is better. So, like an XT30 connector. And that's pretty much what I do. So the PEX gets fed into the tubing. I cut it to length. I use a piece of rebar, which I don't have right now. I use a piece of rebar and I shove it in that end. I drill a little hole above it and I take a piece of wire and feed it on through. And like an electrician using fish tape, I feed the LEDs through. It gets to the other end where there's another hole. I pull the wire through. I disconnect. I take it off the end of the LED. I just use the actual adhesive that's on the LED itself to attach to the wire, and then pull it through and take the wire out the other side. And on this side, there'll be an XT60 connector coming out of the hole, and then I just fill it with hot glue so that keeps the water out on both sides. And then I put electrical tape around one side so I can hold this down and give myself just a little bit of lead out, right? So that I can hold it down. So that's how I make my lit gates. I try to get them so that they're about 3 feet tall and about 3 feet tall and about 3 feet wide at the base. They're in a little, it's an arch, so it's not like it's not square, right? So it's not like a typical race gate, which I think is like 5 by 5. I don't know. These are pretty small gates. I'm running 3-inch rigs through them at night because I try not to fly my big rigs at night because it's a neighborhood, right? I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Well, this past week I did have to run my big rig because the 5-inch only had the only HDZero VTX that was working. Because if you watch the live stream, my first battery pack, you'll notice that it was really I'm losing my light, actually. It was really crappy because I kept losing my signal, but I wasn't losing signal, I was losing power. And what it turned out to be is the capacitor was bad. It didn't have a break in the legs. The legs were still attached to the soldering pads, to the battery pads. So it was a bad capacitor. And you know this by the way it discharged as I was throttling up, and then when I would land or crash, my video would come back because finally the capacitor would regain charge. It was discharging faster than it could regain it. It couldn't maintain the charge. So once I swapped out the capacitors on my little 3-inch Apex Mini, everything was fine. So yay me! I figured it out with the help of Belt FPV. Thank you, Belt, my brother. I appreciate that. So just a real quick little update on my gates and how I make them. I use a roll of PEX, cut it to size. I run some LEDs through the center of them. Like I said, drill some holes just above the rebar. I feed it with some wire that I bought. And if you don't have enough LED to make it all the way through the gate, you can actually just cut small sections of LED and then string them together with more wire, solder wire to it. And I just use a little shrink wrap over the solder connections. So by doing that, the PEX is white. The light will light up the whole tube of PEX, and you don't really notice the breaks in the lighting until you get a little bit closer to it with your goggles, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's very lit up. You'll see it in my video if you watch. So I just wanted to give you all a little how-to on what I do with my gates. So I use PEX tubing, rebar, 12-inch rebar, and some cheap LEDs I get off Amazon, like 40 feet for 20 bucks. They got these little soldering points right here on them, and you just cut right there, and you solder your wire to it, your XT30 connector to it, whatever, and that's it. So, and they got little connections all around, all the way down. So if you never mess with LED wires, that's how they solder them all together. You can buy little things that actually clamp on there and give you solderless connections, but I'd prefer to solder it on there because it's cheaper and it helps you with your soldering practice. So, little tip from Bob Noxious RX here. I'm making some lighted gates at night, or your little night rips. If you're interested in any more of that content, let me know in the comments below. Peace.